Hi, my name is Beverly Owens. I'm an 8th grade science teacher in North Carolina. For my sand sample, I collected material from the Broad River in Cleveland County in North Carolina. So I wanted students to be able to compare different sand samples from around the world, especially looking at ones that were dissimilar to North Carolina, so that students could get a better understanding about different materials and different processes that might cause those sand samples to be created and what type of materials can be found in those particular sand samples. So this lesson plan is focused on investigating sand. There are two parts to this activity. It's an engage activity and an explore activity. Again, this is focused on what North Carolina beaches look like and why they do not look like different beaches or different sands that can be found around the world, and also what kind of similarities there might be. So a lot of students, I think, have the misconception that all sand is the same and that sand is just made out of rock particles. So I think students kind of take that with a grain of salt, a grain of sand, and thinking that everything is very similar, and it's not, based on the material and the geologic history of the area. This particular activity does not require a lot of teacher preparation. There are two worksheets, Wows and Wonders, which I created, and then a sand investigation that goes along with that for the Explore activity. So students will be working in groups, and so they do not necessarily need materials for each individual student. So here's the 3 resources: the 11 Unusual Beaches on Earth video, which is on YouTube, and then I created these 2 documents and made those as Word documents. So I uploaded those to Google Drive as PDF files. So those are linked there if you'd like to use those. So the first part of the activity is engage in looking at the 5E lesson plan model. So the engage is to pull in some inquiry and get students to think and to ask questions and be kind of engaged and interested in the topic. So students as a whole class will be watching the 11 Unusual Beaches on Earth video. It's just a couple minutes long, and it highlights different interesting or intriguing types of sediments that can be found on 11 beaches around the world. So as students do that, they'll complete the Wows and Wonder sheet. So this is what the video looks like. It's just the title page. And this is the Wows and Wonder sheet. So on this, before we watch the video, students will do this focus activity. So this is just a description about what beaches here in North Carolina look like, and most students will have been to the beach before, so they can address this question or based on prior knowledge of images that they may have seen. And then we'll watch the video, and students will complete the Wows and Wonders as we do the video. So Wows are observations, and Wonders are questions that they have generated based on the video. And then after we watch the video, students will do this conclusion, and the conclusion is focusing on, do the beaches in the video look similar to North Carolina or not, and what kind of reasoning might be behind that. So after we complete this whole sheet, then students will, in small groups, share out one wow and one wonder from the video and from their sheet, and then they can attempt to answer each other's questions. So that gives them a little bit of peer feedback. The second part of the activity is explore. So this is the hands-on part of the activity. Students will be working in groups to do this. Their materials will be provided in a lab basket. So I'll have 2 containers. One container will be a sand sample container. The other one will be parent rock. And as students go through analyzing these materials, they'll be recording information on this table for the sand sample analysis. So they're going to be starting out looking at one example from around here from the Broad River, and I'm going to give them an actual sample of this in a test tube. The other samples are going to be on cards that I have images screenshot from the Science of Sand website. So as students look at these different images, they're going to describe the appearance of the sand and what kind of materials they think they see in the sand. Some of them may be familiar with mica or quartz or shells and different things that may be found in these sand samples. This is the parent rock analysis. So there'll be a container with parent rock, which will be chunks of mica or a quartz crystal and different things like that, so that students can try to make a connection from the parent rock to the sand sample and kind of match up which type of parent rock do they see contributing to the different sand samples. So these are the sand sample cards that students will be given in addition to the actual sand sample from the Broad River. So I tried to select some different images from the Science of Sand website that were very different from the sand sample from the Broad River, which is this last image right here. And as students get finished with this activity, they'll be answering these analysis questions to help them wrap up and reflect on the activity, and also pulling in a new vocabulary word, biogenic, so that students can look at the different sand samples through the lens of whether these sand samples are biogenic or not, and if it is strictly sediment-based, or if there are shells and gastropods and things like that present. So after this activity, I would go on to the next step in the 5E lesson plan model, which is explain and teach a lesson about weathering and erosion, so that students have a full understanding of what the process of weathering and erosion is, and can kind of circle back to this activity to see how weathering and erosion played a role in the development of the different sand samples.